On the surface, Brad Katsuyama was a success. Ivy League grad, high-frequency trader, big-name bank. Everything about his resume screamed Wall Street elite. But one afternoon in 2006, inside the skyscrapers of Manhattan, he saw something that shattered the illusion. He tried to execute a trade. The numbers were right. The offer was there. He clicked. But in the milliseconds between pressing the button and the trade going through, the price vanished. It was like someone had read his mind and beat him to the punch. And it kept happening. Again. And again. This wasn't a glitch. It was a ghost in the machine. And that ghost was making billions. Before we show you how one man exposed the hidden cheat code that let Wall Street steal from everyday investors, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because what you're about to learn isn't just shocking, it's still happening today. To understand what Brad was up against, you need to understand latency. In trading, milliseconds matter. If you know that Apple stock will spike by just 0.01% before everyone else, and you're fast enough, you can make millions with zero risk. That's the game high-frequency traders were playing. They weren't smarter. They weren't taking bigger risks. They were just faster. They paid to put their servers inside the same buildings as stock exchanges. They laid down fiber optic cables straight through mountains, shaving microseconds off data travel. And they weren't using that speed to invest. They were using it to front-run. Here's how it worked. Let's say you, a retail investor, try to buy 1,000 shares of Microsoft. Your order bounces around from one exchange to another, trying to find the best price. High-frequency traders, watching those exchanges in real time, see your order hit the first market. Then they race ahead of you, buy up all the shares at the good price before your order gets there, and resell them to you for a higher price, all in less than a blink. You don't notice. The price changed by a fraction of a cent. But multiply that by millions of trades per second, and you've got a heist hidden in plain sight. Brad couldn't believe it. He worked at the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, a solid name in finance. But even they didn't understand what was happening. When he brought it up, senior traders dismissed it. It's just volatility, they said. But Brad knew better. This wasn't randomness. It was predation. The system was rigged. And the predators. They weren't breaking laws, they were exploiting design. Stock exchanges were now for-profit corporations. The more trades they processed, the more money they made. So they gave advantages to high-frequency firms, letting them jump queues, see data faster, and manipulate time. And nobody, not the SEC, not the public, was stopping them. Brad made a choice, either stay silent, or fight back. He started by assembling a team, not of traders, but of misfits. A puzzle-obsessed Irish techie named Ronan Ryan, who knew every inch of New Jersey's fiber optic networks. A coder who wore hoodies to board meetings. A former exchange insider who was disillusioned by the greed he saw. Together, they formed what would become the Justice League of Finance. Their goal? Not to win the game, but to change the rules. The breakthrough came when they simulated trades across multiple exchanges at once. They discovered something terrifying. When they sent simultaneous orders to buy a stock from different exchanges, the first exchange executed instantly, but the others vanished. It was like someone saw their intention and raced ahead to intercept. Ronan confirmed it. The cables between exchanges weren't equal. Some were faster by design. And high-frequency traders were exploiting that. They used proximity, priority access, and high-speed fiber lines to intercept trades in mid-flight. It was like placing an Amazon order and someone watching your browser, then buying the item ahead of you and reselling it before checkout. And it was legal. To stop it, they built a tool. They called it THOR. THOR didn't send all trades at once. It deliberately delayed each signal, sending orders to farther exchanges first, and closer ones a fraction of a second later. The result? All the orders arrived simultaneously, and high-frequency traders couldn't front-run. THOR was a dagger to the heart of latency arbitrage. And once they started using it, something incredible happened. They began winning. But exposing the game meant making enemies. When Brad and his team pitched THOR to other banks and funds, they were often met with nervous smiles and silence. Why? Because some of those same institutions were making money from the scam. High-frequency firms paid exchanges for faster access, and exchanges paid kickbacks to banks for routing trades through them. It was a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem built on invisible theft. If Brad wanted to change the system, he couldn't just sell a tool. He had to build a new stock exchange. In 2012, they launched it, IEX, the Investors Exchange. It was designed with one goal: fairness. No co-location, no kickbacks, no secret fees, and most importantly, a 350 microsecond delay, a tiny speed bump that leveled the playing field and broke the cheat code of latency arbitrage. High-frequency firms were furious. They called it anti-innovation. They mocked the delay as archaic. Some tried to discredit IEX by claiming it slowed down the market. But slowly, people began to listen. Because IEX worked. And the ones who hated it most were the ones who'd gamed the system the longest. Then came the moment that turned the tide. In May 2010, the US markets experienced the flash crash. In just 36 minutes, the Dow dropped 1,000 points, wiping out $1 trillion in market value, before rebounding just as quickly. Investigators blamed a British day trader named Navinder Sararo, who used spoofing algorithms. But Brad and his team knew better. The crash wasn't caused by one rogue trader. It was caused by a fragile, fragmented, speed-obsessed system that had no safeguards, no brakes. IEX's design would have absorbed the shock. But Wall Street didn't want brakes. They wanted profits, even at the cost of stability. As IEX began attracting attention, so did the enemies. Wall Street didn't take kindly to reformers, especially not ones who publicly exposed how they profited from latency manipulation. So they fought back. Hard. Brad's team began receiving anonymous threats. Exchange executives mocked IEX's 350 microsecond delay, calling it anti-capitalist. And whispers began spreading that IEX was bad for liquidity and dangerously slow. In reality, those were code words. What they meant was, this exchange threatens our ability to steal from slow traders. And that theft had a name: payment for order flow. Here's how the deeper scam worked. When you or your broker placed a trade, it didn't always go to the best price. It went to whoever paid your broker the most to route the trade. It's called payment for order flow, and it's legal. Brokers got rich. Exchanges got busier. And high-frequency traders got fresh orders to prey on. Retail investors? They got worse prices and never even knew it. Brad's team realized IEX wasn't just fighting for fairness. They were fighting against a multi-layered kickback system. It wasn't one cheat code. It was a whole operating system of exploitation. Then, a twist. In 2014, best-selling author Michael Lewis published Flash Boys, a book that told the story of Brad, IEX, and the rigged market they'd uncovered. The book hit like a financial bomb. Suddenly, people outside of finance were talking about latency arbitrage, order flow payments, and stock market dark pools. Mainstream headlines erupted. The stock market is rigged. Wall Street thieves exposed. How high-frequency traders are screwing you. TV anchors invited Brad onto every major network. Senators demanded hearings. And millions of retail investors finally saw behind the curtain. Wall Street's quiet scam was now in the spotlight. On June 18, 2014, Brad Katsuyama stood before the US Senate. Across from him were men in dark suits, representing some of the most powerful exchanges, hedge funds, and brokerages in the world. Brad didn't flinch. He explained how milliseconds were used to steal billions. How colocation gave insiders a view of your trade before you even saw the confirmation. How the very architecture of Wall Street had been engineered to favor the fast and punish the fair. And when one senator asked, "Mr. Katsuyama, do you believe the market is rigged?" Brad answered, simply, "Yes, I do." Silence followed. Then the real fight began. After Flash Boys, IEX became a threat that couldn't be ignored. Exchanges scrambled to defend themselves. Nasdaq accused IEX of being a dark pool. NYSE lobbied the SEC to prevent IEX from becoming a national exchange. High-frequency trading firms poured millions into lobbying efforts. They weren't just trying to slow IEX down. They were trying to kill it before it changed the game. And they had allies in high places. Politicians, lobbyists, even parts of the media. IEX faced rejection after rejection. They were told they were too small, too slow, too unproven. But Brad and his team didn't give up. 2 years later, in 2016, after a long, public battle, IEX submitted an application to the SEC to become an official stock exchange. The room was divided. Supporters praised its design, transparency, and fairness. Opponents called it anti-competitive and too disruptive. Behind the scenes, Wall Street's biggest players leaned on regulators. They threatened to move trading overseas. They warned of liquidity crises. They played the fear card at every turn. But the truth was simple. Brad and his team had built a market that actually protected investors, retail and institutional alike. And on June 17, 2016, the SEC made its ruling. The ruling passed. IEX became the 13th official US stock exchange. It was a historic moment, not just for Brad's team, but for financial fairness. Wall Street had been forced to admit that its game wasn't fair, and that something had to change. IEX quickly attracted massive interest. Firms moved trades there. Retail brokers took notice. And though it didn't topple Wall Street overnight, it did something just as important. It exposed the con. High-frequency firms could no longer operate in total secrecy. The cheat codes had been revealed. And for the first time, the little guy had a level playing field. Today, Brad Katsuyama still leads IEX. They continue to fight for transparency in finance, taking on crypto exchanges, dark pool reporting, and outdated SEC rules. But the real impact? It's cultural. The story of IEX proved that one group of people, armed with courage, code, and conviction, could take on the system and win. They didn't get rich overnight. They didn't sell out. They built something fair, and made Wall Street sweat. And maybe that's the biggest victory of all. In the end, Wall Street wasn't defeated by a bigger algorithm. It was beaten by something much harder to code. Integrity. Brad didn't build IEX to get rich. He built it because he saw a scam, and refused to become part of it. He watched as people treated the market like a casino, and turned it into a tool for extraction. And instead of walking away, he said, "Not on my watch." What do you think? Was IEX the hero Wall Street didn't want? Do you believe more trading platforms should be designed for fairness, not profit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you believe financial justice is long overdue. Subscribe for more faceless true stories of corruption, fraud, and the few who dare to fight back. Because the market may be fast, but the truth, it always catches up.